Hi, welcome to Atmosphere Digital. Thanks for joining our Google Apps for Work event, What's Driving Forward-Thinking Businesses. What you've just seen is one of our newest features in Google Docs called voice typing. It makes taking notes a snap, especially while on the go with a tiny keyboard. I'm Maureen Bradford, Director at Google for Work, and I'll be your guide through the next hour. Before we scan the agenda, take a sec to check out the features on your screen. The swirling dots are actually a social visualizer, an easy way to see how people are reacting to content. You can also ask questions live, and we have our Google experts ready to chat and answer questions real time. Okay, now here's what you'll experience in today's event. First, we begin with a global perspective. It's estimated that every day, an average of about 100,000 plus businesses are started. Now, what determines which ones fail and which ones succeed? Well, here at Google Apps, we'd like to help you answer that question. Rich Rao, who leads our global sales and is a longtime Googler, will share the 3 common characteristics of our most successful customers. And then, to pan out to a wider than Google perspective, we'll hear from the United States Federal Chief Information Officer, Tony Scott. He'll share his perspective on what makes businesses successful, including his view on the Internet of Things and business transformation, as he leans on his executive leadership experience leading at Disney, Microsoft, and General Motors. After Tony, we'll complement these perspectives by handing the mic to an array of forward-thinking businesses that have gone Google with Google Apps, including Salesforce, Woolworths, Concha y Toro, WeWork, and Made.com. We'll wrap our insights discussion with a sit-down with Tony Fadell, founder and CEO of Nest, considered the father of the iPod and recent Hall of Fame member on Vanity Fair's new establishment list as one of the world's top 25 disruptors. Tony and Rich will all hold an Alphabet on Google conversation on the key ingredient for disruption, why businesses need to think younger, in Tony's words, and what really prevents companies from excelling. And finally, to close our event, we invite you to join in an interactive demo of Google Apps' most popular features with our Atmosphere team behind the scenes. But now, without further ado, let's turn it over to Rich for the 3 most common traits across our 5 million apps customers worldwide.
Hi everyone, I'm Rich, and during the last 9 years, I've worked on Google Apps, where I've been witness to significant evolution. Even what people think of as the classic enduring logo of Google has evolved over the years, with the latest change just occurring. Now, more specific to apps, you can see that our first website took on a much more humble form and has evolved to the point now where millions of people come to engage with us today. At an industry level, things have evolved extremely rapidly. 7 years ago, a book called The Big Switch predicted the move from on-premise computing to the cloud. But even as we reflect back, some at Google, including myself, I have to admit, have been surprised at just how quickly this transition has occurred. If it feels to you as if business around you is also evolving at a faster pace, it's because, well, actually business is evolving at a faster pace. And the data supports that. In the 1950s, the average company joining the Fortune 500 was 75 years old. In 2013, that figure shrank to just 10 years old. Here's another data point. It used to take decades for a company to reach the $1 billion market capitalization point. These days, companies reach that in just a few years, and in some unicorn cases, just a few months even. Now, part of what's driving this is the digital transformation. As consumer technology gets more powerful, entirely new business models emerge. And some of those new business models can disrupt an entire industry, practically overnight sometimes. We saw this happen with companies like Airbnb, which we featured on the last Atmosphere in June, and with Made.com, which you'll hear from later today, as they share their story of taking retail completely online. Both are companies that transformed their industry with a business model made possible by new technologies. But that's only the beginning. Technology is also making the world smaller, both for your collaborators and for your competitors. Everyone now has access to the same powerful technology, which means that great ideas can come from anywhere. Engineers working in developing countries have the same opportunity as engineers working right in the middle of the Silicon Valley. And what we're finding is that the companies that are most successful today are the companies that collaborate across teams and even continents to facilitate the creation and the exchange of powerful ideas. Now, over the next 50 minutes, we're going to examine how 5 different companies have succeeded. For example, we'll show you how Salesforce was able to win over customers with a new approach to driving customer loyalty. Second, we'll hear how Concho y Toro removed international bottlenecks and remained the #1 producer of wine in South America by using technology to drive leaner operations. And a third example is WeWork, and that's a company that is reinventing the traditional office and disrupting an industry doing so. Towards the end of the event, I'll personally sit down with the CEO of Nest, Tony Fadell, for a one-on-one to dive further into disruption and to get his take on what's next for tech and business. However, for all of this, we want to share more about the current and future business landscape. But not from us. I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Tony Scott, the federal CIO of the United States government. He will share his technology and his business leadership advice for many years as a CIO, serving with the likes of companies like Disney, Microsoft, and VMware, before taking his role with the current U.S. administration. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Well, it's great to talk to this fantastic audience and welcome. My role is Federal Chief Information Officer for the federal government. And the role is particularly interesting because this is a very transformative time in the federal government where issues of security, of transforming government to a more digital model are all right on the table and happening right now. And thanks to a lot of great people that have come and helped from the tech industry, I think we're on a roll and doing some really fun things at this point. And what we're working hard on right now is how to modernize that whole set of work so that just as easy as it is to use Google for things, the federal government should be that easy to use. There's several strategies that we're using to transform. First, on the technology side, we think the wrong thing to do is just lift and shift old architecture to the cloud. Just replicating that in the cloud probably isn't the right answer. A better answer, we think, is to create big cloud scale services, things like workflow or case management that lots of different federal agencies can take advantage of, and then build the very unique things, the small part of things that are unique, on top of those scalable cloud services. There's so much available and there's so many choices when it comes to technology. One of the first things I think an organization has to do is understand its mission and what it's trying to do, and have a set of sort of value statements that clearly articulate how you're going to weigh things. Some organizations are much more, let's say, security focused, and I'm speaking in a government context right now. And that has to take priority over pretty much everything else. But other agencies have other missions and other priorities. One of the things that we just asked every federal agency to do is look at its high-value assets. And this was an exercise where the whole executive team, the agency secretary, the deputy secretaries, the CIO, were asked to, let's look at our mission, let's look at our high-value assets, and then let's do an assessment of the technology and also the security that enable that mission. And that discussion among the executive team is one that needs to happen in every agency, every organization, every private company on a regular basis. First of all, because things change over time sometimes. And secondly, technology evolves. And so what might have been appropriate 2 years ago or 5 years ago might be very different today. And that discussion among the management team is one of the best conversations that should take place if it can take place. The analogy that I think of, quite frankly, is go back in time before banks were well established. And, banks got robbed and, people didn't feel that secure maybe about putting their money in a bank. And, you felt, hey, if I have control of it, maybe it's under my mattress, I'm feeling secure about that. But then a whole bunch of things changed, and bank insurance came along, better security, better guarantees. All kinds of things happen to change people's mind about where they should put their money. And I think everybody would recognize today that you're far better off storing your money in a bank that's federal deposit insured and so on than it would be to keep it under your mattress at home. Because nobody at home can do as good a job of security as a big bank can, quite frankly. And I see the big cloud providers in the same way I see a bank. They have the incentive, they have the skills and abilities, and they have the motivation to do a much better job of security than any one company or any one organization can probably do. So while we have FedRAMP and FISMA and a bunch of other sort of federal standards, and we'll continue to evolve and work on those, I think today the better bet is get to the cloud as quick as you can, because you're guaranteed almost to have better security there than you will in any private thing that you can do. And that's not to criticize private efforts, but it's just a matter of scale, motivation, and risk that I think is tipping pretty quickly in favor of cloud providers. The role today, I think, is one of you have to be a part of the management team and be a contributor on a number of different fronts. It's not good enough just to be somebody who's smart about how to develop, install systems or manage applications. The reality is technology is so deeply embedded in every business venture today. It doesn't matter what it is. Most things you can't do without some heavy dose of technology. This is a case where I think CIO is both educator, consultant, business partner, but also very much a collaborator with the business side of whatever the enterprise is. And I think the role is evolving also to be one of a developer of talent. So if you have a really talented CIO team, they're people who've come in and out of various parts of the business. They understand what it's like to sit in the chair and make the kinds of decisions that are important to be made. And I think that's one of the sort of really big changes that's going on in the CIO seats these days. Probably the biggest top of mind technologies for me right now and things I'm most excited about are, first of all, just the Internet of Things, the ability to instrument and to have data coming from all kinds of different places, I think is probably the biggest single thing that's going to impact our lives in the next 10 or 15 years. So I love that I can control my thermostat and a whole bunch of other things without having to physically be there, but also get information from a whole wide variety of sources that just weren't available before. And I think this is going to create huge gains in our economy, but also in our ability to have much better quality of life across the board. Let me say, as I wrap this up today, a couple of big thank yous. First of all, I want to say thanks to all the support I've felt from the tech community here in Silicon Valley in particular, but really across the nation. I think everyone realizes that this is a transformative time for our federal government, and I've never felt such a strong outpouring of support and help from across the tech sector, and I really appreciate it. And Google has been one of the great contributors to that. And secondly, I really look forward to the innovation that companies like Google will continue to create and help as we go on this very exciting journey. So keep up the great work, keep up the innovation, and keep up your offers of assistance. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our nation as we go forward in what is a very challenging time right now. So thanks so much.
Let's double-click on what makes businesses succeed by looking at Rich's 3 attributes: strong customer trust, smart spending, and an anticipation mindset. First, let's begin with how to gain customer trust and loyalty. Market research shows that it's 5 times more costly to acquire new customers than to keep existing customers. So focusing on retention is a no-brainer. But what are some new ideas on how to best do this? Two business leaders who have adopted Google Apps and are standouts in the area of customer focus will share their tips. First, you'll hear from the VP of Marketing of Salesforce, the leader in customer relationship management software. And then, learn community building lessons from the Chief Technology Officer of Woolworths, Australia's largest employer and retailer at nearly 200,000 employees across 1,000 stores, where customer service is paramount.
We like to do things different and always experiment with, the latest and greatest and the cutting edge. And Lauren does a ton of work with our community on using Google Hangouts for our webinars. We use Chromebox just for our internal meetings. And it was so easy to just start up a Hangout and see somebody on the other end, no matter where they were. We thought, hey, why not use this for our launch? We have hundreds of user groups worldwide, in Japan, in France, in Brazil, you name it, there's user groups there. How can we connect everybody? We want to do something new and innovative, and that's when we thought of Google. So when we launched Salesforce Lightning, what we wanted to do was take all of the great ideas and feedback that our customers have been giving us, and we wanted to launch the next wave of Salesforce, which is Lightning. And because our customers are the ones that helped us develop this product and what it needed to be, it was important that we put them at the center of this launch. How many people are in our developer community?
2.3 million.
Yes, we've got 2.3 million developers, thousands of partners, all of these people who have helped us influence our roadmap. And so what we wanted to do was launch Lightning in a very special way that brought them and put them at the center.
It's not just about bringing the community together to participate in the event, but the fun thing that Hangout brings to the experience is that they can connect with each other. It makes the experience much more informal, much more personal, and that's really what we were looking for here.
Those are fun things you did with the Google Hangouts?
Yeah, they were having fun with all the different effects that you can do, being able to put on silly hats or silly glasses or mustaches. It definitely adds some levity to the event and allows them to play with each other, which is really fun to see. We actually sent webcams and speakers and microphones out, even tripods out to all of these different viewing parties, so they're all really well equipped. And we prepared instructions actually in using Google Docs that we sent out to everyone.
We're looking at the technology we can use to create a very connected experience with our customers and help them understand what we're about. Google Hangouts is a very innovative technology that allows us to do that. It's a very exciting time to be a marketer with these technologies because it used to be you were limited to billboards and you could only create one message that you had to spew out to a whole mass of people, and you had to hope that a few of them fit the demographic that you were trying to reach. In this new world, you can have these face-to-face engagements with Google Hangouts, so you can really feel like you're talking to them on the other end of the line.
We at Woolworths, we're actually a reasonably complex business. We've been in business for about 100 years. We've got over 200,000 employees. We are Australia's largest retailer, and we sell everything, whether it be food, petrol, or Lego games. For retailers, it's really about the customer experience. We want our customers, when they come into our store, to have a really good selection, have trust in us that they're going to get value in what they buy. We'd also like to make it an enjoyable experience for them. Getting our staff engaged is incredibly important to us. We are actually trying to change the culture. It has traditionally been a bit more of a structured, hierarchical organization, but the use of Google for Work and Google Plus has really created an environment and foundation upon which we can do a lot more crowdsourcing. And I was actually just looking at some of our communities on Google Plus, and just to see all these postings real time of what was actually happening in the stores was pretty amazing. For us in retailing, it's a relatively low margin business. There's a lot of turbulent times. We've got lots of new market entrants, and we're trying to figure out new ways of how we can actually do things. And we literally opened up Google Docs, and as a leadership team, we actually started collaborating in one document in terms of building it out. As where in a previous world, someone would have taken notes, create the PowerPoint presentation. This is actually senior people doing this in real time. With Google Apps, the ability to distribute information in a free and sort of market-driven way to all people that are actually interested in consuming that information is absolutely immense. And then for us, hooking up our meeting rooms, Google Calendar, and then the Hangout, The flexibility that provides and the ease with which we can connect people in different locations is absolutely phenomenal.
Budgets, forecasting, planned spend versus actual spend, P&L statements. Need I go on? Some of you may be cringing, others may be feeling confident, and a few may decide you need that second coffee. This next segment is all about how to spend smart and spend efficiently. We'll hear how our customers have gained over 300% return on investment when switching to Google Apps. Leading Forrester analysts will share these findings and a link to the Total Economic Impact report that we commissioned about this cost-saving topic. And we'll hear from a 130-year-old company on how to stay fresh, nimble, and number one in a competitive market. This is from Concha y Toro, Latin America's #1 producer of wine. But before we hear from our efficiency experts, I want to remind you that we have Tony Fidel with us later. Not only has he authored more than 300 patents, but he's now leading breakthrough ideas as CEO of Nest Labs, part of Google's parent company, Alphabet. You'll learn his inventive and visionary approach in a bit. But for now, here's Forrester to talk numbers.
Welcome to Forrester. Today you will learn about the cloud collaboration tools market and the value that Google Apps for Work customers are achieving. Ted Chadler, Vice President and Principal Analyst at Forrester Research, will give you a brief overview of the current market and trends. Then I, Sean McCormick, Senior Consultant and co-author of the Total Economic Impact Study on Google Apps for Work, will give an overview and speak to the financial benefits. So get ready for some numbers and calculations. We might geek out a bit, but first let me hand it over to Ted to talk trends.
Hi everyone. The collaboration market has been amazingly in flux over the last 10 years. Just a tremendous expansion of the importance of collaboration, the value of collaboration to the business. Two main drivers of change though. The first one I think we've all experienced is mobility. We're not sitting at our desks all day, 9 to 5 working. We're out and about. We're meeting with customers. We're meeting in team rooms. We're working across massive boundaries, working in coffee shops. And so we need tools that help us work wherever we are on any device we choose. The second big change is collaboration is business. Business doesn't get done without teams coming together to get things done. And not just email, but working on documents and video communications and able to stay connected and participative all the time. So when you've got teams that are distributed across the world, you need new infrastructure, new capability. And these cloud collaboration platforms provide this capability. They make it possible for employees to work effectively, collaboratively, wherever they are today.
Total Economic Impact is Forrester's methodology to quantify and articulate the value of technology. For this TEI case study, Google commissioned Forrester to examine the value that Google customers achieve by implementing Google Apps for Work. We interviewed 6 global Google Apps for Work customers, asking each about the benefits, costs, risks, and flexibility of implementing Google Apps for Work. After completing the 6 interviews, we aggregated each piece of customer feedback to create a representative composite organization on which to base the development of our Total Economic Impact model. The composite organization we created represented a B2B multinational services company with $4 billion in annual revenues and 10,000 Google Apps for Work users. Based on this aggregated data, 3 main categories of benefits were quantified. The first being collaboration. To quantify this benefit, we utilized 2 segments of employees: those who were more collaborative, like project managers, and those who were less collaborative, like operations managers. The highly collaborative employees saw an average of 1 to 2 hours per week in time savings, while the less collaborative employees realized 15 to 30 minutes of time savings per week. For our composite organization, this meant $8 million of savings over 3 years. The second benefit identified was improved mobility, or the ability for employees to work from anywhere on any device, whether that be Android, tablet, iPhone, iPad, or their personal computer. For the composite organization, there were 400 managers traveling to teams in the field. We saw an average reduction of 12 trips per manager, equating to a savings of $6,000 per manager, or $5.4 million over 3 years. Third was the reduction of legacy technology, specifically being able to remove on-premise servers from operations and reduce conferencing and telephone services across the organization. In total, these reductions led to $3.7 million in savings over the 3-year period. Ted, do you have any ideas how organizations can do better at controlling change management costs?
So Sean, change management is one of these things that can really disrupt the success of a project. When you're thinking about asking people to change the way they work, use new tools, work differently than they were before, it can be hard for people. Some people jump on board, other people are more reluctant. So change management has to kind of tier the training, provide just-in-time training, and go continue after it. Not just do it once and be done, but have a continuous process to make sure people are making the most out of the new tools and the new capabilities.
The bottom line here is that over 3 years, taking into account all risk adjustments, Google Apps for Work returned $17.1 million in benefits, outweighing the total cost of $4.2 million, and resulting in a return on investment of 304%. Now that we've gone over the numbers and the market trends, we thank you for taking the time to hear about the value that organizations are realizing through the use of Google Apps for Work.
Only some unique countries have the privilege of producing great wines, and Chile, where Conchitoro comes from, is among them. Today, Conchitoro is present in 145 countries. It is the wine brand with the greatest presence in different markets around the world.
At the beginning in 2009, when we decided to use Google Apps, we were looking for reducing cost and mobility. It was extraordinary at the beginning. We were looking to have no servers, no anti-spam appliance, and Google Apps did it. For us, it's a very good solution.
We see our alliance with Google not only as an opportunity of having apps to improve our productivity at work, but especially as a means to foster the innovation and creativity of every employee at Conchitoro.
Google Apps has brought us innovation because it has allowed our people to collaborate inside the company, outside the company, and to work differently but looking for the same goals. It was 1/3 of the company that already used Gmail, so it was easy for us to introduce Google Apps for them. They were very happy with the solution at that time. All the Google Apps solutions work as one. We work with all of them at the same time. We use the email, we use the Google Drive, we use a document, a presentation, or a slide. So it's really helpful for us to use every application that Google provides.
At Conchitoro, innovation is everything. In our company's globalization process, technology has played a key role for a digital experience in addition to a sensory one. Technology brings our product closer to consumers. In this environment, it is crucial to work with Google. With the same passion and joy we make great wines, we will work jointly so that this alliance reaches each one of our distributors in the 145 countries where we are present.
At Google, we believe in transparency. Our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. In this spirit, the Google for Work team wants to make signing up for and using Google Apps as simple and clear as possible. Starting this month, companies on alternate enterprise agreements can now switch to Google Apps for Work and not start paying Google until their current agreement expires. If you have a qualifying contract for productivity software, you can use Google Apps for up to 3,000 employees at no charge until your old agreement expires. Our global network of Google partners can help you make this change. You can start using Google Apps for Work today, and your bill could go down by as much as 70%. At the end of the day, we want to help companies around the world work the way they choose and build what's next. Google Apps helps by simplifying work, collecting, brainstorming, and sharing ideas. If you're interested in this offer, visit the link on the screen to learn more details. Now on to industry disruption. We've all heard of those magical unicorns and lofty IPO stories, but let's get to the fundamentals of how businesses are breaking industry molds. We'll hear from two apps customers who are doing this: WeWork and their transformation of the traditional workspace, and Made.com, a global furniture retailer all online that crowdsources their design ideas straight from the customers. And just after them, we'll have our keynote Q&A with Alphabet executive Tony Fadell, founder and CEO of Nest Labs. Now, let's get ready to learn the tangible secrets of business disruption.
A warm welcome to everyone attending Atmosphere. I think you'll be really glad that you decided to tune into this portion. So many companies are trying to figure out how to envision and create their future. And in some cases, they're trying to figure out how to disrupt a whole industry. And I can think of few people who are better equipped to talk about this topic than the person whose office or nest I'm sitting in right now, and that is Tony Fidel. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
A little bit about Tony. He is the CEO of Nest. Tony is a true visionary and known as a disruptor in the tech industry. He's one of the fathers of the iPod, and having rebooted the music industry and forever changing the way that we consume entertainment, Tony's now trying to do something similar in our homes with Nest. Now, he's come a long way from very humble beginnings. You may not know this, but Tony started his career actually with an egg delivery service, albeit it was in the third grade, I believe.
Third grade,
right?
yeah.
So on that note, welcome again. Thank you for joining us, and it's great to have you, Tony.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So you gave a TED Talk recently where you spoke about one of the essential ingredients needed to create one's future, and that is the topic of design. So you mentioned in that talk that the first secret of design is noticing. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Well, noticing is really about noticing problems, for me at least. What normally happens from birth, you actually are tuned to look at every single little detail and learn because you're learning about the world. I watched my baby growing up, and she would look at every single little thing on the floor, little pieces of dust, noticing every little detail. But as you get older and older, you start ignoring those things and moving on to higher level things to notice. And so for us, and for design teams, it's critical that you go back and think about every step you do each day when you're going to build something, and think about those frustrations, those ones that you had maybe when you were younger or when you first encountered that product. And you say, oh, what's wrong with that? And then over a course of days or weeks, you just go, oh, that's the way it is. And so it's so important to see those little details. You know, in the TED Talk, I talked about the sticker on a piece of fruit. In the US and other places, we put stickers on pieces of fruit, and it drives people nuts when the first time they see it, like, I just want to eat this piece of fruit. But then over 5-10 times, they forget about it, and we just live that way. Well, why is that? As designers, we need to tune into that habituation, that noticing, and really understand to get rid of those frustrations and not just live with them any longer.
At the beginning of Atmosphere, I spoke about one of the trends we're seeing in the market is that companies are getting to scale at a faster and faster pace. And I think it may be related to something you talked about, which is this idea of thinking younger.
Thinking younger is always just taking back, like I gave you that example of my daughter going in and seeing all those little details. That's about that, looking at the world from a beginner's perspective. How does someone who is not, experienced in things, how do they feel about the world? How do they experience what they do each day, and where are those frustrations? Where are those places that could be improved? So that is about thinking younger, noticing those details. So how do you do that in your organization? Well, the first thing is to make sure you hire people who have young minds. That could be young people with young minds or older people with young minds, but people who can really notice those details, who can think and put on a hat like they're a beginner each day and just go through their design process with that beginner's hat and have empathy for those users who are struggling to learn new things and try to make it really easy for them. So too often when we design something, we're designing something to impress the person next to us who's very experienced. To me, that actually alienates the beginners, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, oh, this is a really important piece of technology for somebody, but the beginners, it seems so distant, it seems so unattainable. If we empower users with making really simple designs that allow them to do things with new technology in new ways they never thought very easily, then that's the right way to design for technology, for real users, not just beginners.
Now, Tony, you've seen and been part of disruption in a lot of different venues. So can you, from your perspective, tell us what you think are the common conditions that are necessary to truly create disruption?
The first thing about disruption is you have to look at a piece of technology or a new way of being that is so different than what has already existed. So to give you an example, electric cars, right? It's very different. And that disruption is going to change massively a whole industry. And now there's upstarts like Tesla who are taking on the big guys, and the big guys are going, now trying to follow them. They poo-poo it for a while, but then they go, oh, wait a second, there's something really big here. So I always look for technological disruption to change the way we've been doing things forever. So what we have to do is look for those perturbations in the evolution of products. And you say, that's where I think I can go enter and I can play with the big guys. Just won't be like a supplier to the big guys, I can actually be one of them. So look for technological disruption, and that's a great place where you can start.
And as a corollary of that, have you seen companies who want to disrupt but struggle to do it? And if so, what are the things that are getting in their way?
It's easier just to keep doing the thing you're doing. It's easier to kind of put your head in the sand and go, oh, that new technology, that's really not going to disrupt our industry. You always have to disrupt yourself if you're going to grow. So, if you look at what happened with the iPod's a lot less of a product today than it was 10 years ago. Why? Because the iPhone was created to cannibalize the iPod, right? If you think about it, if you are not eating your own, work, someone else is going to disrupt you. Most big companies don't like that because that means I can't just sit here and come in and punch the clock and do the same thing I've always done. I have to push the boundaries of it. And people don't usually like change. They like to do the same thing over and over. And so you have to disrupt yourself if you're going to stay relevant decades beyond where you started.
Now, Tony, this conference is about apps. And so I have to ask you this question of, here at Nest, how are you using Google Apps, Hangouts, Docs, and what effect is that having on your organization?
Pre the acquisition of Google, we didn't really use a lot of the Google apps. And when we got onto all the Google systems, especially Google Docs, Google Slides, Sheets, all of those things we use so much because we have a team that just is spanning multiple buildings in one area, but also spanning multiple buildings in multiple countries. And so it makes it so much easier to collaborate. You can see real time how people are editing things. You can talk to them online with the chat function. And then we obviously use Hangouts all the time for face-to-face meetings with new recruits as well as between teams and between companies. So it has really just taken things to a new level. The old days of the conference call are dead. It's horrible to work that way when you can't see what's on the screen and share information. If you were to take away these tools, wow, we would be crippled and go, what happened? We have to have these Google Apps. They're so great for collaboration.
Now, Tony, you had a post recently in the Wall Street Journal, I believe, and you talked about sort of the future of the internet. So can you give us a summary as to where's the internet going?
Well, I don't have anywhere near a crystal ball to understand the internet and where it's going. I can tell you some of the things that are affecting our world, which is connectivity everywhere. We have been putting Wi-Fi now into homes and around, communities and everything for over a decade. That's huge. So we have cell phone networks that's permeating the world, but then also, Wi-Fi and base stations throughout all of these areas. And it's been so great because now you can take that technology that you can believe that's in those homes and you can attach different things to the network. So anything that is got a electrical plug or a battery in it today is most likely going to be connected with not just power but with data to the overall network around the world. And so that allows you to revolutionize, as we talked about, disruptive technology. This is a disruptive technology that almost anything that is connected will be changing dramatically when data gets flowing to it. So for us, ubiquitous connectivity, ubiquitous computing, because you're going to be able to have really cheap parts that come from cell phones, combined with really great interfaces, whether that's on your phone talking to it or on the device itself. That's the future of the internet now. It's not going to just be in your pocket or on your desktop or in your briefcase. It is going to be in every single thing that is connected today, which is really exciting.
Tony, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, Tony Fadell, thank you very much.
People seem to be asking a lot more of their work, of the time they spend at work, and that is everything from the environment that they work in, to the people that they're surrounded by, to the actual work that they're doing. They just start asking more of themselves, of their employers, of the environment, because I think people feel like if they're going to put in the time and the effort, that they really want a meaningful return on that. It's not just about getting a paycheck, it's about actually getting enjoyment and fulfillment in your day-to-day. And when we think about WeWork in a big picture, it's about sending a message to the communities that we're in and to the world that really, like, anybody can be an entrepreneur. Anyone can be a startup in themselves because the tools that are out there are empowering them to do so. The barriers to entry are so much lower, and figuring out a way to bring people together to help people connect with each other and find meaning in those relationships was fundamental to our challenge and still what we're trying to accomplish today.
One of the big pressures on the company is people being able to have access to the same information so that they can make decisions based off of that consistent information. So that's really what Google Apps has enabled us to do, is have a centralized place where people are accessing the same documents and not managing multiple sources of information, because that's ultimately where you start to have redundancy and inefficiency and has a detriment to the operations of the organization. That ability to access your information is critical, and your ability to share that information is critical. We've got a lot of departments that really need to be closely in sync to be able to do the kinds of things that we're trying to do, and having a platform like Google Apps where everyone can log in and see the same information and collaborate is really critical and has really gone a long way towards us being able to do the things that we're doing.
I think one of the most amazing things, again, as an empowerment tool, which is what we're all about, is that Google works from day one of your business. If you're one guy in a WeWork office or at a cafe or whatever, you can start with no barrier to entry, and then it can carry you through to, we're at employee number 800 and we're still using it, and I don't foresee us ever going away from it.
Our mission is to be just sort of come in and you have business infrastructure that would really take you a long time to establish, and I think the product missions for Google Apps are very much the same. You kind of very quickly sign up as an individual user, and as you add your teams, you're automatically able to collaborate. If you were doing it all on your own, it would be really, really difficult, like piecemeal through the various platforms that are out there. So to have that kind of collection of utilities work seamlessly is really in line with what we're trying to do, is enable people to get up and running and do their life's work in a very seamless and easy way.
And what's really important is that the people in each location are really experiencing an incredible energy level and connection to each other, and hopefully that exists in every location now and in the future.
I didn't choose furniture. Furniture sort of chose us.
May.com is making great design furniture accessible to everybody.
It's a very interesting dynamic between the three of us. We work very, very close together.
We all had the same belief that the furniture industry had to be disrupted. We started, we were 3 people, small 4 square meter room. We were now a team of 150 in 4 countries. We're using Google Apps on a day-to-day basis. They make everything quick, efficient, and very simple.
From a company that's set up entirely online, it is in our culture to do things fast.
We launch 2 new collections a week. If you don't like it, we take it out, and that's how we grow, just sitting purely on the market demand. I'm constantly on the move. I'm not in the office a lot. It's a big frustration for my team. So we started to use Google Apps, being able to check stuff on my phone anytime, signing off images on Google Slides or just going through documents is a massive help.
It's pretty easy to remember the first item that we sold because we had only 2 products on the website.
We waited, no one bought, 1 hour, 2 hours, and transaction, yes. Big part of our ambition is to keep that culture of moving fast and keep innovating every day.
Our customers have talked about Google Apps, and Tony Fidel even said it changed the way Nest Labs worked. But enough about others. We'd like you to see for yourself. Our Google product experts would like you to join them as they dream up the post-event survey using Google Hangouts, Docs, and Forms. And then they'd like you to fill it out so we can make our next event even better. We know you're busy, so thanks for giving us your time today. We hope you enjoyed the content, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Atmosphere event. Best of luck moving your business forward.
Hi, I'm AJ, Program Manager at Google for Work. In the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to walk you through an amazing product experience where you'll get to see the magic of Google Apps in action. Now be sure to stay around till the end, because we have a special surprise for you. Now usually, at the end of Atmosphere, we send out a survey to everyone to get their feedback on how we can do better next time. Well, this time we actually haven't finished the survey yet. In fact, we have a few questions left we've got to figure out. That's okay, because we're on Google Apps for Work. We'll get this all sorted out right in front of you. There are 3 things that I must do to get the survey out to all of you watching. First, I've got to get my team together, wherever they might be. via Hangouts. Second, we're going to collaborate in real time on exactly what questions we want to ask and flesh those out in a Google Doc. And third, we'll take those questions from the doc, put them into a Google form on the fly, and send it to the thousands of you watching. And we'll bring it full circle by analyzing the results in real time in a Google Sheet. Sound like a plan? So let me do step one and get my team together. That's actually really easy with Calendar and Hangouts working seamlessly together. Take a look at my screen now. That's it. Hey guys, thanks for joining on such short notice. By the way, we have thousands of folks from Atmosphere tuning in as well. So that was step one. And by the way, there are millions of customers using Hangouts just like that to connect to whoever they need to. Take Salesforce.com for example. They bought inexpensive webcams and tripods and sent them to 9 offices globally. The users set them up and they were able to communicate in real time two-way during the product launch between the executives and the users in the field. Really powerful use case for Hangouts. On to step two. Now that my team's together, we need to brainstorm exactly what questions we're going to ask the thousands of you out there. Okay team, I've started a brainstorming doc already. Let me share it with you all now. It's in Drive. I'm just going to go pull it out and get it to you in a moment. All right, there it is. Wow, keeping everything in Drive makes it easy to find things no matter how big or how many you might have. All right, here's the doc. Let me just add you all to it right now. I'll give you all edit rights. And I want to ensure this doc doesn't accidentally fall into the wrong hands. So I'm just going to hit this checkbox right here to prevent the download, copy, and print as well.
Great.
Okay, I see it, and I'm getting into the doc now.
Yep, me too. I see it on my mobile.
Awesome, guys. So let's jump right in. What do you guys think?
Well, the first one's got a typo, so we got to get rid of that.
Oh, yeah. Nice catch, Reshma. And, I think we need to get a bit granular on this question, too. So instead of a yes-no, let's do a strongly agree, disagree.
Good.
Yeah. All right, so that one seems like it's pretty good.
Taking a look at number 3 too, I think we can do some changes there. Like, let's make it a bit more specific. So, let me change this here. You guys check this out, see what you think.
Yeah, I like being specific. I have another idea for a question. I wrote it down last night. Let me paste it over. Oh, no. Sorry.
What the heck?
Oh, my gosh.
Who is that?
That's Henry for president.
Just wanted your dog on to get famous, right? Well, at least let's get the right question in there.
All right, there you go.
Thank you. All right. You guys have anything else you want to change, or what do you think?
No, I think it looks good.
Looks good.
I'll go ahead and lock in these changes now and put these into the survey that I'm about to send. Thanks, guys. You guys can drop.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you later. As you can see, Google Apps for Work makes brainstorming across distance possible and teams really nimble. Take Second City, the comedy house in Chicago known for famous alumni like Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, and Tina Fey. Now, when their corporate division needs to work on new content for a client, they all just dive into a Google Doc and start brainstorming. Once it's fleshed out and ready to share with a client, they simply share it via Google Drive. It's that simple. Now let me show you how easy it is to get these questions from a doc into a survey form. Because Google Apps for Work has powerful automation built right in, I'll just run this script that'll take this list of questions and turn it into a survey form in a single click. All right, let's take a look at it. Looks pretty good, but before I send it to the thousands of you watching, I'm going to send it to a smaller group of Googlers just to make sure it works the way I want it to. All right, now that that's sent, let's watch the feedback come back in real time. Looks like they're pretty happy about the way things went. And there are many other customers, retail companies, that use forms just like this to manage internal store operations. Take the managers at Celio stores in France. They take their daily sales data and they enter all of it into a Google form, which drops into a Google Sheet for later analysis. This is a process that used to take 4,000 calls a day. And now it all just goes into one place where they can distribute it globally, and that really enables them to manage their inventory faster and get clothes into their customers' hands more quickly. Let's recap how Google Apps for Work enables teams to work faster and get more done. We use Hangouts to get our teams together from anywhere, Docs to build our ideas in real time, and Forms and Sheets to capture data and gain insights right away. You may remember we mentioned a special surprise for you. Well, now is your chance to win a smart Nest thermostat just for filling out the survey form. So just after I sign off, the form is going to appear for you. Please share your thoughts with us, and thank you for watching Atmosphere.